Good morning. Today's tour is of the front garden, and we'll start here at the clay pot leading down to the basement, coming from the driveway. And this pot, one of the original things that we purchased, it's paired with the pot that's on the other side of the driveway that we can't see because it's covered by the neighbor's moringa tree. But this used to be our lavender pot when we first moved in. But once kids came along and I stopped doing very much in the garden, it had clover. In 2020, I put one of these miniature roses, and it's actually been pretty good this summer. You see that I do need to fertilize, and I'm waiting for September to fertilize the roses, but there's been an awful lot of growth since 2020. The runner goes all the way down the fence, and we do get these pretty little sprays of red miniature roses. It's growing into the lantana and into this climbing fig or crawling fig that my husband has grown along all the pillars. We do need to keep that trimmed back, and unfortunately it does crawl across the grass, so I don't like it in the backyard, but here along the driveway it's not really that bad. This then goes into our hedge leading to our garden, and as I said earlier, we do live in a condo and we're one of three, and there wasn't very much of a yard when we first moved in 2005. It was a brand new construction, so we basically just had weeds and very compacted soil. So it's been a transformation. First things that we did was plant Suriname cherry trees and hardy hibiscus, and these are the hibiscus that you don't have to cut back. In our case, they flower a good portion of the year. The Suriname cherries, in many cases, we sometimes took little seedlings from under my husband's grandfather's cherry tree. They had the best cherries, and in recent years we've noticed that the cherries do taste that good. As good as the original. Yes, we do need to trim the hedge, but we're waiting until it gets a bit cooler in September. And this would be the entrance now into our house. This has always been the entrance from the driveway. However, there was pavers that did go right along here, so that if somebody wanted to come from the front, but as you can see, we got rid of that. The tree is a Bermuda cedar tree. It is a native. This was our wedding present. It sat on top of well, it would have sat on top of the groom's cake. It was a bit large, so but we did bring it home from our wedding reception, and we did plant it after our honeymoon. So it is about 16 years old now, and we do put lights on it, both for Halloween and for Christmas. And then if we go around the front, you can see that it goes between the Suriname cherry and the hibiscus. I do need to fertilize the hibiscus as well. I did not do it this year, primarily because I couldn't get the fertilizer that I usually use. So I do need to do that. And this would be the end as we get to our neighbor's kitchen. And we do have a Chinese hibiscus that we're trying to grow across, but as you can see, the kids love to run out. So that's the way that contains our little front yard. And then let's go in and see what we have. So when you come in, we'll start on this side, and you'll see that I have a little area with a lot of potted plants. And this used to be my original propagation area over the years. You know, if I had plants that needed to go into the flower bed. In recent times, I try to have something there just with color, because we don't really use that area very much. I still have some plants for propagation. You can see the coleus over here. I'm rooting it for my mother-in-law to put in her garden. These two, they're strawberry plants, and there are a lot of baby strawberry plants because, as I said earlier, I let the runners go. There's an red okra that we're experimenting with, more so for the leaves and the foliage than the food. There's some canna lilies back here that need to go into the along the wall in the back in the next couple of weeks. Coleus that used to be on the entryway. It used to be a tiny plant last Christmas, and now it's huge. so we can put that somewhere in the garden. Broken branch from the frangipani that we're rooting out to be able to give away. And this is loquat seeds. Every time my youngest had a loquat that he liked, he saved the seeds and we put them in the seed tray, and out of the 6 he planted, it looks like we have 5. So we'll see what we do with that. And there's even an oleander back there, and I think that oleander is a double white that my son got a clipping of and asked me to keep, but you probably noticed I don't have oleander in the garden. This does go down to the basement, and then comes my grow house. It used to have a top. They have rusted off. As you know, we do have hot and humid temperatures, and even during the winter it may be, you know, it may be cool, but it's still humid, so things rust a lot here. So we're talking about replacing this with something that's made with PVC or something like that. And this is where I do put the seedlings, particularly this time of year when it is warm. During the winter you'll probably see a lot of the bigger pots on here. And we have these were planted 2 Sundays ago, so these are zinnias that have come up. We have some stock. We have some salvia that's starting to come up, some canna lilies here that can go in the backyard. That's a bit older than 2 weeks. And then down here, more zinnias. We have the strawberry runner babies in the back. This is a tray that, you know, you put water in the bottom, so these are ones that are taking a little bit longer to come up. And then down here we do have some bachelor buttons, some more zinnias. Looks like we have a cutting from a lantana, some dianthus. So there are quite a few things in here. Back here we do have 2 Bermuda cedars that were started by birds dropping seeds in the garden. And then over in this area we have climbing roses going up the area for our entry. We did have the little white pet, and I showed you that in the backyard earlier during the week. I've since taken that out, and now we have Joseph's coat right here, and then we have another Bermuda climbing rose that I can't remember the name of right now. I have to look it up in my rose book. What I've done over the last year, I've started putting the canes horizontally across to encourage more growth, because as you can see they've been growing up with a nice strong cane, but there wasn't very much coming out the side. So now whenever something comes out the side, I do put it across, and you see that we have a lot more growth as we've been doing that horizontal work. The Joseph's coat does flower every so often. The other one I planted last year, and I haven't had it flower yet this year, so we'll see what happens. There's also a black-eyed Susan vine, and so that's one of the flowers that come up, and it's been wonderful because it's gone around the side as well. So we do have a small little trellis on the front for that. In the corner, we never used to have anything grow in this corner, and last December I did put a small coleus cutting there, and as you can see 8 months later it takes up the whole section. Unfortunately it is covering some of our osteospermum, and you can see a leaf here from hollyhock, but I will, you know, cut it back as we get into the fall. In the garden I actually still have some lavender, can you believe that, from the spring, and there's some coleus. Looks like we have some zinnias coming up. There are 2 gibber daisies here, one here, and I think there's one around the side. The one around the side I think is the one from the driveway garden. This one was planted last year, and such an interesting, strange color. We just had to put it in. And the front, we used to have a daylily here, and then during the spring we do get the Easter lily greenery coming up, and that takes up a lot of the front and going into the side, and it suppresses a lot of the growth of the things in the area. And our Easter lilies don't flower until June, so it isn't usually until July that we start cutting everything back. But we're seeing that everything's spreading right now. We do have looks like we have, that looks to be a marigold in there. We have some chrysanthemum in here. That's an angelonia. Here's a gara that's in here. We have the white-eyed, a black-eyed Susan vine, a coleus over on this side, and then an osteospermum along the front. I do need to cut back the grass a bit because, of course, my husband tried to stay away from the plants when he mowed the lawn last week. Going on this side, we do have more and more containers. It started just with that section over there when we moved in years and years ago with the hydrangea, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But over the last 2 years, we've literally gone from the green pot down towards the entry area. And this year we do have an artichoke in a pot, and I've grown it mostly for the greenery, but if we do have any sort of artichoke flower go up, I do want it to get to the flowering stage. I don't really want to eat it. We have a pot that is wave petunias, and I've just cut them back, so they may have another flush in September. This is our pepper pot, and we do have, you can see there, pepper forming. And this pot used to be a tomato pot. When one died back last year, I put in the portulaca that is flowering profusely this year. And then as the other side died back, I put in the Dusty Miller last fall into winter, and you see it is now humongous. And then in the spring, I put in the chrysanthemum after Mother's Day, so we'll see what happens with that. These two pots, those tiered pots, literally started out as strawberry pots, this white one here, but you can see a lot of different things have gone in, and literally as I walk around, I'll just, put in a cutting sometimes and see what happens. The strawberries, I think, are mostly all gone now. I didn't put any new ones in this year. And then this pot here, I've put an awful lot of things like dianthus and everything in there. You'll see that some things have, really taken, like the lantana has taken. Again, you'll see here the dianthus has spread. We actually have in August some verbena growing. The snapdragons are 2 years old. So we just continue to play around with this area. It just, creates a sort of like natural fence, and it, brings color. Again, lots of portulaca growth going on. This area ends up with a lot of things that are being propagated because, it's a part shade area. And so we have a lot of small things like this is chamomile that was grown from seed. We have started our veronica in this area. When they sprouted, we bought them out here and just put them down to be able to catch. We have a shell rose in a pot. I keep saying I'm going to put it in the ground, and it keeps getting bigger, and it's still in a pot. Chances are I'll probably put it in another pot this fall, a larger pot. This is our red leaf hibiscus, and this one was grown from seed from seeds that were taken from the tree and the flowers from the tree last year that's in the backyard. So I keep saying I'll give this as a gift, and I've yet to do it because it is just so pretty. This pot right here was our tomato pot last year, and when they died back, I put in two coleus, this curly one right here, and this speckled with red one, and it's grown humongous. This is what it usually looks like. There are two other coleus in here as well. There's one over here being taken over by the hydrangea, and there's another one over on this side. And it's just grown beautifully this year, so I've just left it alone. I had planned again to take the coleus out and put it elsewhere. I might do that at some point with the two areas that I plan to put coleus because it's very shady, but we'll see. This is the 17-year-old hydrangea. In fact, it might actually be 18 because we've had this house for 17 years this November. So it may actually be 18 years old now because I've had it before I was engaged and when I was still in my apartment. carried it up here, and it's been in this spot pretty much ever since. Yes, I've potted it up twice, but it just seems happy, and I generally leave it alone. It will be fertilized in the fall as well, but it seems to be living its best life, so I leave it alone. Down here, we do start getting into some of our herbs. We have orange mint here. I do use that to make iced tea during the summer. And we have some coleus in here, some hibiscus. We have the dianthus pot over here. We do have a pot with basil and oregano and rosemary, and we use that all the time. There's a sedum pot over here. And then this pot in the middle, for most of the years we've been here, it has had a mandevilla in it. It died back probably around 2018, 2019. I did nothing with it. And then in 2020, we put a coralita in there. And this year we've added in the Black Eye Susan vine, and you can see it has this beautiful rosy sunrise, sunset color. So it's a nice combination. Coleus in the corner. Looks like we have one of our 2020 geraniums here, some vinca, some Gora in there, Dusty Miller, some Osteospermum on the side. So this is, it's a nice little area. Always happy to see it when you come out the door. And outside the door, we do have our plants. This is a recent purchase for the shelving. We had everything on this PVC shelf, and we decided to go up a couple of weeks ago because there's so many things on it. So this is the original pot. This was the original fairy garden in here, and now it has some portulaca and this is actually from Christmas, this peace lily, because we do have a Siamese fighting fish, and it likes to have the peace lily floating in there. So this was a baby one that was in there. Now it's gotten rather big since Christmas. And when we go up, we have some plants that we're propagating with the Rose of Sharon hibiscus. We have some portulaca that we purchased a couple of weeks ago, and have been taking cuttings from that. Some sedum, some nerve plant. That's the drying hydrangea flowers from the really big one, and then African violets, and more sedum, and another coleus that we're trying to root, and then some Christmas cactus. Then we have a Christmas cactus over here as well. So that's and then this is the view whenever I come out my door every day, so it makes me quite happy. And then during Christmas, we'll see the lights on the tree as well. And then the final area that we have is the going out by the tree and going down in front of the kitchen. So this is just an alternate view of all of those plants along the walkway. And then we do have a pot that has squash and pumpkin. Right now we have a honey nut butternut squash growing, and unfortunately the vine that was growing in the other direction that actually had a honey nut butternut squash got broken last week. You can see that I haven't pulled it out of the pot, but yeah, we lost a little one that I had hand pollinated. We do have my oldest son's fairy garden from years ago in this area, and now it just has, it looks like we have some columbine in there. We have what is that? That looks to be Stephanotis growing up. That's another Black Eye Susan vine. We have a looks like we had a pincushion flower growing in there, some coleus and such, some portulaca, and then we have our hibiscus, double red hibiscus that grows in front of the kitchen window and going down, and then the window down there with the blinds closed would be the neighbor's window. We have on this side, you can see, the hibiscus as they come out. So in the fall, of course, as my husband cuts this back, there'll be more room to walk down towards this end. And this is where we have the hose and everything like that. We have some African iris grass in here, and this area, very shaded, usually doesn't grow very much. So we've, had some cover plants, and this is the area where I want to put more coleus because it's so shaded, and I know that that works very well. So we'll do that in the fall, and we'll probably use quite a few coleus from this no-dig flower bed that we put in this spring. We put a lot of coleus cuttings, I mean literally just sticking a branch in the soil when we planted the Luna hibiscus seedling, which is this right here. And but look at what happened with just putting one little branch in. That's 1, 2, 3 different types of coleus growing on that side. It looks like we have 1, 2, and this one right here, this third one right here was grown from seed. The seed was put in and looks like it's grown up. But a lot of this we'll take out and we'll put into the bed to the right of us, and we'll leave the hibiscus. We may leave the angelonia. We'll probably leave the portulaca, and I think there's even there's a dahlia still in here. I think there's supposed to be a dahlia on this side, but I don't know if it has survived all of this overgrowth. So we'll have to take a look in there when we start playing around with it in September. So, but it's all growing beautifully. And then when we walk back, you can see that's the Chinese hibiscus that will grow across the area that the kids run out of. And just walking back down, you can look at some of the hibiscus. That's the double red hibiscus, and we have them growing along the window. And then here's one of our sunrise hibiscus. I have entered many of these into our annual exhibition over the years, and many of them have won prizes for the kids and even for my husband. And they are quite nice. And just to finish up, we'll do one more look and then see how this links to the driveway. So thank you for joining me this morning. What I may do as this week progresses and as we get ready to go on vacation is I may do the backyard again, because I had a few comments saying that I didn't go into the types of plants that were in the plant beds. And then we might actually go along the wall down below to see what we have growing there as well. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Thanks so very much, and enjoy.